you for listening again to another episode of the Quetzal Talk. And today it's going to be a very um, interesting subject. We have Mr. David Bustos on the line. Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you all doing today?
We're all good, man. Just happy to have you here and having a conversation with us about what you guys have found in White Sands, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, White Sands National Park.
Correct. But first, Mr. Bustos, can you go ahead and tell us a little bit about you and your background and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm David Bustos. I'm the Resource Program Manager at White Sands National Park. Sort of what that means. Basically, I work with any sort of living things like plants and animals and things like that, but also help to manage some of our historic buildings or some of the cultural sites around the park, as well as the fossilized footprints. So that's my job, sort of, is to protect the most recent sort of living organisms, and then any past history or anything that's been left behind as well.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that there was living things in White Sands. How's that possible? Is there plant life there?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Yeah, I said that I had no idea that there was um like animals and insects and
Oh
stuff
yeah,
living there. What do they eat?
yeah. It's funny. I think a lot of people just see the big white dunes, massive, expansive dune field. But there's an amazing variety, diversity of white sand. Some people they call it the Galapagos of the Americas. But there's an amazing amount of diversity, all kinds of pale or white animals and insects, and so it just depends where they're at, what they'll be eating. But we have an animal from every class of vertebrate except for a bird that's adapted to white sands. So we have white toads and lizards. There's even pale snakes. We have there's a white sands pupfish. We even have several mammals that are very pale or white. Patchy pocket mouse, and then a few others. Even our pallet bats are very pale in color, which is funny because they migrate, but the ones out here, they can be very light. And then the funny thing, you ask, what do these things eat? That's a fun story. If you go into the middle of the dunes, there's not much out there that you'd see at first. If you look closer, you'll see things hiding. Sometimes you'll see these amazing ant mounds. They're the red ants that you see everywhere in the desert, the harvester ants. But out white sands, they'll make pedestals that might be 2 or 3 foot tall. And if you're out there at the right time, you might see a white lizard run up to the pedestal, right up to the opening, and ants will come charging out, and that lizard will just sit there and snack on a few ants and then take off again. So it's sort of like his own little private McDonald's or little fast food area for them. But those are fun to see. There's all kinds of really neat and unique stories and things to be told. We have another researcher, Eric Metzler. He's working on moth species like butterflies, but the moths.
Hmm.
But he's found, I believe, over 50 new species in just the last few years. So there's amazing diversity, and people are always finding new insects out here. Also, and other just amazing discoveries.
Wow, White Sands is a very interesting spot then, huh?
Yeah, yeah, it's really incredible. It seems like every year, there's some new incredible discovery, and it's been really fun to see the trackways. It's been another big discovery. But that's how it is every year. There's even similarities. Some of the stuff we're finding at White Sands, people are finding on the northern poles of Mars. There's gypsum dunes out there also. So there's
Oh,
some
wow.
unique similarities with White Sands and Mars even. So who would think that there could be any similarities? So it's always fun, always some new and incredible discoveries. A few years back, we were cleaning up the dunes after Easter, and we found a cannonball out of the middle of the park.
A
Where did it come from? And
cannonball.
a cannonball, yeah. And what I've been told from the historians is they believe it was a early Spanish cannonball, sort of in the transition Spanish,
Hmm.
and then I don't know if the Spanish War and then the Mexican American War, but no one knows really how that thing got out here. But
Right.
about 4 miles into the middle of the dunes, someone just tossed a cannonball. And so
Wow.
who would think that you'd find a cannonball out there? So it's really amazing. You never you never know what's to be found. So it's always a lot of fun.
Right. And I heard you mention there were white lizards. Is that because they camouflage in the white sand?
Yeah. A lot of animals, they become white. The funny thing is, they're not albino, so they have the pigment in them. And
Hmm.
so, like the lizards, for instance, and when it's cold in the morning, they'll be dark. They'll
Oh
darken,
wow.
and then once it warms up, then they'll get white again or lighter. They don't get real dark, but they do get darker. Once they get warm, then they'll get lighter again. So they do it for heat, but then also to blend in, of course, so the other animals flying overhead or whatever won't see them. We even have cicadas. Those are those. Sometimes you'll hear them in the trees buzzing in the summer. Those really high
Right.
pitched buzzing. But we have those out here, and those can be white too. But the funny thing is, it's on their underbellies, and they'll hang upside down, so a bird flying over won't see them. But they'll make like a waxy substance. And we even have three species of spiders that become white. And if you ever wanted to pick up a spider, I don't know why you'd do this, but if you did, you could rub off that substance. It's like a waxy substance that covers. They have like a little bit of a fur,
Hmm.
and if you wipe that off, then they're brown, just like any other desert variety of spider we have out here. Those wolf spiders,
Right.
but yeah. So there we even have white spiders, and we have white praying mantis, and we have ladybugs that we can find sometimes that are white out here. There are all kinds of things. It's really fun to see.
That's interesting. Now, let me ask you one other thing. I had heard long time ago. I don't know if it's true that under white sands, they deposit nuclear waste because they say the sand, can keep, radiation down. Is that true?
I don't know anything about that. I know in Carlsbad there's other places, but I've never heard anything at the monument anyway. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that's been the case, but I'm not sure other places.
Oh, okay. Now, Mr. Bustos, what's up with these footprints, these fossilized footprints you guys found?
Yeah, so there's really neat. I think the exciting thing about it is White Sands is bizarre in that it's amazing. There's so many unique properties to it. It holds moisture. It can be very soft or very hard, or things just they work very differently out here. And it seems like that's been the case with these footprints too. Footprints are being found around the world, and many of them are can be older than the ones we have. But what's so unique about White Sands is our prints. They go for long distances. Some of them are over a mile. There's
Oh,
this most
wow.
recent one about a mile and a half, and then there's animal prints that go for up to three miles, or almost 3 miles, 3 kilometers or so. It's a little bit less, but just long distances. But we also have, as far as we know, we have the largest concentration at the Ice Age megafauna and human footprints. And because there's so many footprints, we're able to see where people interact or react to the animals, and the animals react to people. So what I mean is, you'll be walking along, and you'll see fossil footprints of humans, and they'll be walking, and then a place where a giant ground sloth will come up, and as soon as they get close enough to sense the humans, they'll stand up. You'll see in the prints they'll stand up and spin around, and they'll go in the opposite direction. Or if a person, it looks like if they start to see those ground sloths, they'll change their direction and start going that direction. Or some places we have where it looks like they are actually hunting the giant ground sloths also, where you can actually see people sort of running up and giant ground sloths standing up and spinning around, and a person going up on the balls of their foot and then stepping backwards, another person coming from a different direction. So just really neat different things you can see. And there's places where you can see children who are jumping, um, and all kinds of other animals. So what's so unique about White Sands is there's so many prints and they're so long you can see the prints overlap with each other. So you might see one place where a person steps on top of a megafauna footprint, and then maybe 30 feet further out, then you'll see a different animal will step on top of the human footprint. So back and forth along the way.
And I'm wondering, how does these footprints get fossilized in an area just full of sand and I imagine wind because we're in the desert?
Yeah, these prints they're a little bit different. We call them soft sediment fossils, but so we have some prints that would probably resemble what you would think of as a fossil, very hard stone.
Hmm.
They're sort of strange though because they're made of dolomite. So in White Sands we don't really have any rocks or native to the area. There's stone material except for the dolomite or the selenite crystals. Somebody brought it in here. So people have been visiting white sands for thousands and thousands of years,
Right.
and that's what we're seeing is the traces of people. So what it looks like is people there walking through the area, and most likely it was in large puddles, sort of wet material and mud, and they're walking through. And
Mm-hmm.
as they walked, then sand came to by, and it filled in these footprints, and then it got covered. But some of these footprints, they're so soft you could actually cut them with a butter knife.
Oh
So they
wow.
are very, very soft, and they're prone to erosion. Once they become uncovered, they break down very quickly. So we're trying to document them as quickly as we can. And some of the prints, they're fun, and we call them ghost prints. Some of the soft ones because you can't see them all the time. Sometimes you'll be walking by an area, you might have passed that area, for years, and then
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden something changes. It'll rain or it'll freeze or something, and salts will form on the ground, and you'll see thousands of footprints. And then the next day, you won't see them anymore. They're there, but they're under the surface, and you can't see them unless the conditions are just right.
And how do y'all know how old these footprints are?
Yeah, so that's a big question. To be honest, right now we don't know the exact age. What we do know is that they were here during the time that mammoths were here and other megafauna. And the reason we know that is because the prints, the mammoth and the megafauna and the giant ground sloth and saber-toothed cat and other things, they were walking near them, and then they were stepping on top of the human footprints, and the human footprints are stepping on top of those prints. And
Mm.
then the material that they're made of is the same. For instance, we have footprints in some areas that are made of clay, but we also have in that same area we'll have footprints of mammoths and camels and giant ground sloth and direwolf, and they're all made of clay also. And there's no clay there anymore. The only place where you see clay is in the footprints. So whatever environment that allowed that to be made, it doesn't exist anymore. And the human footprints are made of clay. In other places, they'll be made of the dolomite, sort of a hard stone,
Mm.
and they're of all the animals and the people too. So it depends sort of where you are along Lake Otero. It was a giant lake. It went all the way down almost to El Paso into the um, into that basin, also into to
The little
the
valley of the
Wakeable
river.
Dome also.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
big wetland area.
so um so White Sands used to be a lake.
Yeah, yeah. So White Sands is a giant. There's a giant lake, Lake Otero, and sort of the fun part of this story too is around, probably around the same time as the lake started to dry up, and the megafauna, the mammoths, the saber-toothed cat, and other things started to go extinct. That's around the time that the White Sands began to form. So about 10,000 years ago or so, the White Sands dunes began to form.
Mm-hmm.
And the fun thing too is, I don't know if your listeners will know, but we have a sister park in Mexico in Cuatro Ciénegas, and
Mm-hmm.
they had the second largest gypsum dune field in the world. They've lost a lot of their dunes over the last 70 years or so, but they're still really an amazing place, and they have these amazing pools and bosas and other things down there. But they also have some fossilized human prints and some other prints too. So it's really neat. It's great to have our sister park also.
Right. And where is that located in Mexico? Around where?
Yeah, we're in the Chihuahuan Desert. We're sort of at the northern end of the Chihuahuan Desert,
Mm-hmm.
and Cuatro Ciénegas, they're more in the southern end of the Chihuahuan Desert. And we got to visit them a while back, but we flew into I think it was in Sonora, and then by sort of by Monterrey, down in that area, sort of the
Mm.
middle, sort of. But it's an amazing place if you ever have the chance to see that also.
So and why did this lake dry up? Do we know why?
No, it's all the Earth's been changing for forever. So a lot of the megafauna that came through, there's
Mm-hmm.
different time frames. So about 40,000 years ago, there was a big number that looks like it came through. There's ice ages that happened,
Mm-hmm.
and then those um, changed, and then another one happened about 20,000 years ago, and then there's another big wet event about 10,000 years ago. So there's just ongoing cycles where it's always changing, but it looks like within the most I don't know if it's been the most last 60 years or 100 years or what it is, but at White Sands we can see that the lake bed's drying up, and we're losing a lot of sediment. It's eroding away. So there's rapid erosion in places where you can see there's a foot of soil that's disappeared, and unfortunately, with the sediment disappearing, it's revealing these prints to us, but then they're disappearing too. And once they're gone, they're lost forever. So we know there's places where there's thousands of footprints, and right next to it, it sort of got blown out. It all eroded away, and we know there are prints right there, but they're gone, and you'll never see them again. So we're racing to try to understand why it's eroding away, and then to see what areas are eroding away, and to try to document the fossil footprints as quickly as we can. And it's
Right.
yeah, we're a small group at White Sands, but we've had some really great support from many researchers from around the world and throughout the country. Also, so we're very fortunate to get a lot of good support and people helping us along the way.
Right. Now, I was wondering when you were saying about like 10,000 years ago that the lake kind of dried up. Um, have you heard of that guy called John Hancock? I think that's his name. Is that his name? Yeah. And he talks about how there was a cataclysmic. Well, they think, they don't know. They think that there was some big cataclysmic event that happened like 12,500 years ago that stopped. I think it stopped the ice age, right? That's when the ice age stopped. And what he claims is that um, you know how they say the Clovis people were the first people here in the Americas. Well, he claims that before that there were more big civilizations, but that they got wiped out, right, by this big cataclysmic event that happened. Do you know anything about that, or have you heard anything about that?
No, not really. I don't know anything. I know there's a lot of research and people going back and forth, and when people were actually here and came through. But it's been interesting. There's more and more sites they're finding throughout the Americas, older sites. So
Hmm.
I think in the past it was thought that Clovis and the Folsom sites were the oldest, but there's been increasing discoveries throughout the country, and then in Mexico and South America of many sites that go back much further also. So it's been really interesting to see new discoveries and what are being found. But no, I don't know.
No, no, that's crazy. And what else can you kind of tell us about White Sands? Because I mean, I honestly never have been there, and I want to, but I haven't. And I'm interested to know what else can you let us know about that?
Yeah, I mean, you'll have to come,
All
and if
right.
you do come, don't stop at the first dune you see. Make sure that you go to the back of the road because that's where you get the really big giant dunes. And some
Right.
people they'll come and they'll stop at the first ones, but they never really get to see how incredible it is. But come out to the back of it, take off your shoes, go up to the top of the dune. The dunes are always moist, nice and cool to your feet, even in the middle of
Hmm.
summer. They're always really moist. And if you're lucky, if you're quiet and walking near some of the edges of the dunes, you might see some white lizards run by also. So those are always a lot of fun to see. We also have a really neat visitor center, and it's a historic district of the monument. So
Right.
it's listed on the national heritage site, but it's a really incredible adobe building, a two-story building. So it's really nice and neat architecture. So you can take a look at that. And then whenever COVID's not going on, we have some really nice videos you can see of the park and different things to see out here. And then whenever things go back to normal, we have really amazing events, full moon nights, and also sunset strolls, and
Right.
a lot of different events and special tours to Lake Lucero and other places. So there's a lot of really incredible things to see. And then if and we're working with a lot of different folks right now to help us to develop some new exhibits for our fossilized footprints. And so that'll be right off the main dune drive. And so when we get that finished, there'll be replicas of the different prints. You'll be able to see those and touch those and see what those look like and read up on different so the background information of those different animals that were out here.
Right.
But I think that for the fossilized footprints, the neatest part of the story that I'm seeing out here, and I think a lot of our researchers is what's so unique is people are sort of always been the same throughout time, or it doesn't really matter where you're from or where you live or when you lived. There's a People do the same things sort of we've always done. And for instance, like we see people were hunting the different giant megafauna, but then there's also places where you'll see in this last paper a mother was carrying a child and putting him down and picking him up again. So they were exhausted. It looks like she was really walking really fast. We don't know why, but they were picking a child up, making sure they're keeping him out of the mud and stuff. In other places, you'll see where a mammoth walked by, and then it looked like it made a larger hole through a big puddle, and then children were jumping in the puddles and having a
Right.
splash. You can see all these
Wow.
little prints jumping all around, and to me, I laugh because I have three boys, and I say, that's exactly what they should be
Right.
doing.
Yeah, that's pretty
So it's
neat.
really fun to see. Yeah, we it's funny because you thinking, oh, we're so far, and so from space or time or whatever, we're distant, but we sort of always done a lot of the same things. People were doing back then. They still do today and enjoy doing. So I don't know. I think that's the special thing about white sands. At first glance, it doesn't seem like there's much to be seen. Just these really pretty white dunes that go on for a long ways. But if you look closer, you'll find really incredible insects that are adapted to white sands, or we even have amazing soil crusts and different colors of crusts and things like that. If you take a closer look, and just to touch the sand, and you can see how moist it is, and it's even in the middle of a hot day. So there's always really neat and strange and fun things to be found out here.
Right. And pardon the ignorance, but when you say megafauna, do you mean like the wildlife that lives there? Or what do you mean when you say megafauna?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, when you say the word megafauna,
Uh,
do you mean the wildlife that lives there?
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, no. So yeah. So the megafauna I mean would be the mammoths and the dire wolves and the saber-toothed cat
Mm,
and giant ground sloth, some of the old wildlife that once lived here. Now we don't really have anything that would be considered megafauna. Some of the largest animals that we have at the park probably our kit fox inside the dunes, and then we do have badgers and javelina. Sometimes I've seen a lot of prints, but never actually seen a javelina out here. But
mm,
those are some of our bigger animals. We have coyotes and other animals that roam around, and the roadrunners, of course, are always fun to see.
right. Damn, that's pretty neat. Well, Mr. David Bustos, it was really fun talking to you here. It is very interesting. Like I said, I hope we encourage people to go. Well, once this COVID is over, to go and
Yeah,
check out the whole White Sands thing. Because I mean, I seen pictures of it, and I know that a lot of like music videos have been shot there. I think like one of the Boys to Men in the
yeah.
'90s
That's a
was,
great video.
yeah, yeah, and it looks really pretty. But is there anything else, Mr. David Bustos, that you would like to share with the people from El Paso?
Right now we're doing, even though people can't go out, we're doing a lot of really neat activities on our website and activities you can do from home
Mm-hmm.
or that you can do on our websites too. So if you have a chance, take a look at that. Some neat things that they've been working hard to try to reach out to people during COVID. So there's some fun things I think for people. And then whenever you do get a chance, please come out. And there's a lot of different special programs that we have and special passes for veterans and also for the youth and fourth and fifth graders and things like that. Also, that there's always good programs going on. But yeah, take a look at our website until we're able to see you all, and it'd be great for folks to come out whenever they are able. But yeah, it's a great place. Come out, and the mornings are always really nice. The animals start to get up and moving around as it gets a little hotter. It's harder to see things, but mornings are a great time. Or later in the evenings, right before sundown, also sunsets are really amazing at White Sands as well.
Is it a good place to stargaze, or is there a lot of light pollution there?
Yeah, there's still some. You can see the stars are pretty incredible, also. And then on full moon nights, they're just amazing. It's like daylight almost. You could play soccer in the dunes if you
Awesome.
wanted to. On a in the middle of the night, it's so bright out there.
Hmm. Wow, that's crazy. Well, Mr. David, oh, no, what is that website that you were talking about where there was all types of
Let
activities?
me see if I can get that for you real quick. If you just Google White Sands National Park, you'll get it right away. But let me see if I have.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't
Oh,
have
it's
it
okay.
handy. Yeah, and like you're mentioning, they're during when things are sort of back to normal. There's always amazing um, commercials and movies and all kinds of neat
Right.
things that are always being filmed
And
down
can
here.
people camp there? Like spend the night in the tent?
I don't work with that side of things too much. I
Mm.
know if things are going on, people can stand up at that edge of where things are happening,
Mm.
but I don't work with on that side too much. I'm usually in the back of the park working with the plants and animals and other
Right.
things that are out there. Okay, yeah. So our looks like our website would be nps.gov backslash WASA WHSA or White Sands.
There you go. We'll go ahead and put it on the description below so people can go ahead and click on it. Um, well, Mr. David Bustos, like I said, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. A very interesting conversation. Um, and thank you, sir. Have a good day. And we go,
You
like I
too.
said, um, go ahead and have a good day. I don't know what to
Thank you.
say.
You take care.
You too.